How I ended up homeless, first of all, was, I made bad decisions. I was about 18. I was on drugs. Didn't know really where I was going to be at in life. And then when I did meet those roommates that I was finally staying with, unfortunately, one of them passed away. It just became like unmanageable to, pay the rent.
We've made it very difficult in this country for people to actually have a home unless they have a whole lot of assistance.
I ended up being in a couple of shelters before I came to Matthews Hope.
The key difference is, I think, is that we do try to move people towards a life of independence and self-sustainability. And we really work with them in their individual life.
Now I'm doing a recovery, 12-step recovery.
Okay.
That I'm very grateful for. If it wasn't for, when I found out about Matthews Hope, I would have been pretty much living in my car.
You have to really make close to $70,000 just to be able to get into an apartment, which that doesn't even make sense to me.
Definitely learned some life skills, setting goals that I want to, whether it's little goals or big goals.
There has to be a willingness and somebody who's willing to work the program and work hard. There has to be a clear path.
I expect to, graduate from the program. I'm about to start school in October for HVAC.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tracy Lewis with Imagine Marketing. I'm joined by Shelley, who is the president and executive director of Matthews Hope, as well as David, who is a guest of Matthews Hope. This podcast is produced, filmed, and edited by John Burkett with Imagine. Welcome to this week's episode of Straight Talk, No BS with Matthews Hope, presented by Imagine Marketing. At Imagine Marketing, we put in the extra effort to craft a tailored strategy for success. We also offer photography, videography, and even podcast production services. So book your free consultation today. In this episode, we will be introducing you to another real face of homelessness, David. Hi, David. Thanks for being here. Can you start by sharing a bit of your story and how you initially ended up homeless?
So how I ended up homeless, first of all, was, I made bad decisions. I ended up being in a couple of shelters before I came to Matthews Hope.
And how old were you then?
I was about 18.
Okay.
It was a scary experience. Lost, confused. Didn't know really where I was going to be at in life. And it was a tragedy.
What age did you become homeless?
About 18, 19.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you went into some shelters.
Yeah. I was able to get my high school diploma.
Okay.
And thank God for that. But I eventually I was able to save up for a down payment on a car. Slept in the car a couple of times.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the experience of living in the shelter? Like, what was that like for you?
It was awful. I mean, I wasn't really comfortable there. It wasn't like a prison or anything like that. But it was just like, it was really uncomfortable. Obviously I had a curfew.
Okay.
I had to respect their rules, which eventually that caused me to be homeless because, I broke the rules and, it led me to being back on the streets. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't nice.
Mm-hmm. And Shelley, what are some of the key differences between a traditional shelter and what Matthews Hope offers?
So, I mean, I can only go off of what I've been told. I think David can, that summed up what a shelter is like the most, right? The key difference is, I think, is that we do try to move people towards a life forward towards a life of independence and self-sustainability. And we really work with them in their individual life. We don't look at them as a big, paint stripe. Mm-hmm. We want to look at you and, how we look at David and, how can we help David move forward? Because how we help David move forward isn't how we help the next person move forward. We need to find out more about David's life. Mm-hmm. And his experiences to know what he can and can't do or is willing to do,
Sure.
And then, move him forward from there. I think that's the biggest difference.
Mm-hmm. And David, at one point you had a job and a roommate, but still couldn't afford a hotel room or an apartment. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you touch a little bit about that?
So before I had those roommates, I was kind of like bouncing from place to place. And then when I did meet those roommates that I was finally staying with, unfortunately, one of them passed away.
Oh, no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. And then, it just became like unmanageable to, pay the rent and stuff.
Snowballed from there.
Yeah, pretty much. And then at the time I had, my car, which I was going to be sleeping in it. And if it wasn't for, when I found out about Matthew's Hope, I would have been pretty much living in my car all over again.
Shelley, how cost prohibitive is it today for someone living on the streets with a job to save enough to get themselves a place on their own?
We've talked about this a lot. It is really difficult. I don't think that I could afford my home today if I had to, work for a down payment. I was just fortunate to buy my house almost 20 years ago. When we first started this program, when we were sending people off with the matching $1,000, they've raised $1,000. They're out. They've got $2,000 to put towards their new living arrangement, whatever that would be. Be it an apartment or a roommate or whatever. Now that's not even enough to start up your utilities most times. You have to really make close to $70,000 just to be able to get into an apartment, which that doesn't even make sense to me these days, So, let's say David got a roommate and you're actually living an exact example of this. David got a roommate and they both could qualify for that apartment together, but then something happens to the roommate moves or unfortunately passes away. Even if David could make those payments, once it comes time for his lease to be renewed, David cannot
yearly,
stay.
Right?
Yeah,
still like
David cannot stay, even though he was making those payments. We've made it very difficult in this country for people to actually have a home unless they have a whole lot of assistance or a very wealthy family, which is unfortunate.
It's very, very scary to know that apartments are the same as a mortgage, but to get into an apartment is hard to get.
Right. Where apartments
to your own home.
Yeah. Apartments were meant to be until you are able to have a mortgage. And that's how it worked in my life until I was able to have a mortgage. But now today, your apartment is as much or more than home, which is crazy.
Making it so crazy hard for younger generations. My daughter, she's 25 and she had to buy a tiny home, which she loves, but that was an option, almost only the option for her because she couldn't afford something without roommates. She did have roommates as well, but there's a lot of things that come with that,
right?
Like you had mentioned. So eventually you had a place with a friend for more than 5 years while working a landscaping job. What happened that caused you to become homeless again?
Racial. It was really mainly the financial. I wasn't able to, afford that, and I wasn't making enough at work to be able to continue those payments.
And you were working hard. I can imagine, a landscaping job.
That is a hard job.
A hard job. Yes. So it's not like you were just, what I'm getting at is people think typically a homeless person, is lazy or they're on drugs or they're doing these things or not doing things. But that's just not true all the time.
Right.
Shelley, how many more people in our area do you think are currently sharing an apartment or a house that they wouldn't be able to afford or qualify for if something happened to their roommate?
Okay, so I actually have no idea how to answer that question because as we have said in recent podcasts, is how do we find that answer? It's we have to just guess. I can look around and see the statistics of the people that we're helping, and I can see from the people that you and I know, and I can just guess. But I don't really know that true answer. What I know is my daughter just moved back home and I have a full house now because she couldn't afford to live on her own.
I have many friends too that are either, 18-ish,
right,
or they're going to college. They're in their first years and they need to come back home, like you just mentioned. And I have so many other mom friends and, dad friends that their young kids are with roommates.
Yeah.
And they have pretty good paying jobs. And I even think about myself, like if something were to happen to Mario, heaven forbid, like I wouldn't be able to afford our home, or even I probably wouldn't even be able to go get an apartment on my own. And I'm not in poverty. I'm
Right.
working full time and, a pretty good
Right.
income. It's just, I feel like it's so almost impossible for anybody, any individual, even family members. I'm thinking of like families because you guys mention all the time that there's more and more families on the street, kids on the street. We just set them up for failure.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
David, how were you first introduced to Matthew's Hope?
I was actually introduced to Matthew's Hope through a family friend. I made a phone call and got in touch with what the requirements is to get in the program. And every Friday, I would take the day off from work to volunteer my time to, get to know them and to show them that I'm, serious about getting into the program.
And what was your living situation when you were first introduced to Matthew's Hope?
Pretty much in my car.
Okay.
I was sleeping in my car because right after my roommate had passed away, we weren't able to afford that, so we had to move out, and I was in my car for that time.
So you're grieving and you're just trying to get back on your feet. And how long were you in your car for?
About a year.
Wow.
So that the time from your roommate passing away to the time coming to Matthew's Hope was about a year.
About a year.
I don't think I knew that. Wow.
And how long was it between when you first started visiting Matthew's Hope until you officially entered into the Moving Forward program?
About 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I was blessed and fortunate to get in the program.
Right.
I'm forever grateful to this day.
Oh. And Shelley, what are the steps for determining whether someone is ready for the Moving Forward program?
So one, they have to be willing. And just like David said, he took off every Friday to come in. And if he couldn't come in for some reason, he would call. There has to be a willingness and somebody who's willing to work the program and work hard. There has to be a clear path. We have to know, where are you going? What do you want to do? And even if that path changes along the way, that's okay. But we have to know that you don't want to just stay in that situation. You can't stay with us forever. That's, we're as Scott calls it, a catch and release program. We want to catch you before you hit the ground, or even if you've hit the ground, we want to pick you up, wipe you off, get you all better, and then send you on your way and go have a happy life. We don't want you to be with us forever.
And what is the Moving Forward program? I know we talk about it often, but maybe there's somebody who's listening or watching who is like, what is this Moving Forward program? Can you explain a little bit what it is?
So we have people who come in and, you come and you live on in our houses. You actually have an advocate that works alongside you. You meet with the advocate once a week. Is that right? Just once a week? Yeah. I know y'all are in and out every day.
Right.
Once a week, they have an actual advocate meeting.
Nice.
And they talk about what has your week been like. They hold them accountable to, some people are in AA. Some people, have, there's different forms that people of classes that people have to do. Every week you have to go to Bible study. Whether you believe or not, we want you to take that time just to rest your mind. We have life skill classes. And then we just work with you individually as a team. We as a team work together. We all have our different experiences. I have my experiences with my kids, my special people in my life. I have kids with special needs as well as kids that are typical. But then I also have life experiences that I've been through. And so that gets poured into the guests. Sometimes they know it, sometimes they don't, but it comes through their advocate usually. We all get together as a team and work together to move people forward towards a life of independence and self-sustainability.
I love that word team, right? Because, as parents, David, do you have any kids?
No.
So as parents, we're always like, it takes a village.
Yeah.
But whether, that child is 2 or 30 or 50, like wherever we are at in our stages of life, it takes people, right? It takes a team, and it takes love, and it takes people believing in you and just being like, you can do this. And where do you want to go? Like you guys do with the Moving Forward program. And this is how we're going to do it together. You're going to put in the work. It's going to be hard, but here we go.
We're not going to do it for you. You've got to do it.
Yeah.
So when you began the program, you had to decide to give up your car. Why was that a significant step for you?
It was just mainly because I really couldn't afford it. The financial, I was paying a crazy interest on it. And I would have been in more debt than I was at the time. So I felt like, that was the right step.
And insurance, right?
Yeah.
I cannot believe how
Yeah.
much insurance is. It is absolutely insane.
It's as much as some people's car payments when they're
Yes.
teenagers.
Yes.
Mine.
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but it is absolutely
lot.
insane.
Yeah. it
Yeah.
is.
So David, where do you live now?
I'm in the housing program.
Okay.
And it's great.
Yeah.
It shows me really to appreciate what I have now, what I didn't have, before. And yeah, it's great.
And how long have you been there, and how long do you expect to be there?
So
Is that a thing?
I've been there about 7 months now.
Okay.
And I expect to, graduate from the program. I'm about to start school in October for HVAC.
Okay.
So I'm really excited about that.
That is very cool.
Yeah. So
And what got you interested in that?
it's a high demanding job.
Yeah.
And, you'll never be out of a job.
Right.
So
Especially not in Florida.
yeah, exactly.
Especially in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, I know some people, so if you need the hookup, I got some
Awesome.
good friends. That's very good. Congratulations, David. Shelley, how many people are currently living in transition housing in Orange County?
Geez, right now I have,
Should have gave you a heads up on that.
well, and we actually just had one of our guests move out
Okay.
who's been with us for quite a while.
Wow.
And so it's just 3 of you right now, right?
4.
4.
Okay.
4.
I should have asked David, because I'm sure that
Yeah,
you guys
should ask
kind of
David because
become
they're
friends.
buddies.
Yeah. Well, I can't imagine. It's like I mentioned before, like it's a village, and especially if you're going through similar situations, you guys can relate to each other and help each other,
Right.
like stay strong. And I'm sure, just like everybody, like there's really tough days, and you can all relate to each other and be like, "Hey, we can do this."
Right.
So that's really cool.
And that number does fluctuate. Like, if you would have asked me this time last year,
Yeah.
we were full completely, but it just fluctuates. People come and go and decide to move forward on their own. Some people are great at moving forward. Some people bounce back. We've had boomerang people
Okay.
a whole bit. Yeah.
And how long do they typically, or how long are they typically in the program? Or it again varies.
It does
each
vary.
person?
The max transitional housing laws is 2 years.
Okay.
And are there ways to work around that if somebody leaves and comes back, but max usually is 2 years at the most, 18 months to 2 years.
Gotcha. David, what are some things that you have learned so far while living in transitional housing and working through the program?
Definitely learned some life skills. Not that I didn't have any, but just some that I picked up along the way.
What'd you learn?
Biggest one was journaling. Writing about, how I felt today, or, like setting goals that I want to, whether it's little goals or big goals.
I love that.
It's awesome. I wouldn't have seen myself, journaling every day. And then another one is learning about making like healthy lifestyle choices, eating right, getting plenty of sleep, exercising, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
2 things that we wouldn't think make such a huge difference, but when you actually do it, it's like kind of like a snowball effect.
Yeah.
Right? That's really cool. Shelley, what are some expectations and responsibilities that come with being given a spot in the transitional housing?
So one is definitely willing to work. We always do housing inspections. We have a curfew. Now on a day-to-day basis, if you're going to just be coming and going in your regular life, we're not going to say, hey, you need to text us, let us know when you're home. But if you're going to be late, you're supposed to text us. If you're doing something unusual, you're supposed to text us, because there's accountability in all of this. And it's not that we want to babysit. It's more that if
Learning healthy habits.
yeah, we want to help you learn healthy habits. That's the right way to put it. We want to help you move forward and know we're always going to be accountable to somebody. And so this is maybe the first time anybody's really been accountable to anybody. Life skills class is very important. And we try to change that up to make it to where it's not so the same all the time, and then, we even try to bring in different Bible study leaders.
Let's go back to David. He just mentioned a healthy lifestyle, which included getting sleep. What was it like when you first moved into transitional housing and had a nice bed, a roof over your head, space to yourself, how much of a relief was that?
It was a huge relief. Just made me be more like appreciative and gratitude to, be able to have that, because, not a lot of people are fortunate to have a bed to sleep in or a roof over the head. So it's just little things like that that make you really appreciate.
And did you feel a difference too? Like just in your, like, I know when I don't get sleep, I get super irritable. So did you notice anything like that happening?
Yeah, kind of. And if I don't get
You
enough
felt more
sleep,
safe?
yeah.
So you mentioned previously living in your car and then at the shelter, it was not good. And now you have bed, you have a roof over your head. How has that set you up for the future?
The biggest one is like time management. I didn't have that before. I would just have to worry about where I'm going to sleep at the next night and the following night. To whereas now I can actually set a goal and have the time to really like see it out through.
Right. So you don't have to worry about things that some are not having to worry about.
Exactly.
And you have cool air, you have a bed, you have a roof. So it's opened up more time for you to create goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest, also another one is like, having groceries to eat. I didn't have that privilege to, just go to the store and get, so yeah, that's.
You don't have to worry about what's coming up in your belly.
Exactly.
And all of that. It's funny that we're talking, not funny, but like how things that are so maybe simple for most people, that are huge,
right?
Like a bed and food, and how that sets you up for success. And if you don't have that, what you're worrying about,
right?
Instead of things that you could be taking steps forward, like going to school,
right?
So you mentioned groceries. What is that like from, living in your car and then now you have a refrigerator?
It's a huge difference. Because, when I'm living in my car, I have to actually go out and spend money every day just to eat something, rather than, having a refrigerator now and being able to keep things in the fridge, fresh for the following days.
And I'm sure it's less expensive, right?
Oh, it's a huge relief on the expenses. So
I know we talk about what Matthew's Hope needs, like the individual top cans,
right?
And they're a lot more expensive than if you were to buy a bigger can or be able to get green beans in a bag and put it in the freezer and then be able to put it in your microwave. So I'm sure you're able to eat healthier too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you had mentioned that you had learned about healthier eating.
Yeah.
You don't have to go out to eat and all of those things.
Yeah.
So Shelley mentioned earlier that you have an advocate assigned to you that you meet with regularly. What are those meetings like?
So basically, we talk about like, did I complete every task, like going to church, doing my life skills,
right?
What goals do I have set for the following week? And also what do I need like from the advocate? There it's like, something that I need rather than I want. And that's what I've learned too, since I've been there, is, having needs rather than wants.
Gotcha. Has that been hard? Having somebody try to talk to you about, is that a need or a want?
Yeah.
I probably should start asking myself that a lot more.
Yeah.
Like I started asking myself that more when I went to now that I've been at Matthew's Hope for 8 years. Sometimes I'm like, do I need this?
Right.
Do I need that cheap?
Yes, you actually did.
Yes, I did.
Sorry, David. Shelley, why is accountability so important in this process?
In life, we're all accountable to somebody. And, I'm accountable to Matthew's Hope. I'm accountable to our donors. So you're going to always be accountable to somebody. You're accountable to Imagine Marketing. We're always going to be accountable to somebody. So if you go through life and you're not accountable to somebody, we're not setting you up for success. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just so important. We don't, it is not my philosophy to babysit anybody, but I'm going to hold you accountable. I'm going to hold my kids accountable to certain things. I'm going to hold my friends accountable to certain things. I'm going to hold my husband accountable to certain things. So we're always accountable to somebody. So if we can't help you learn accountability, right? We're not doing you a service.
Yeah.
And I feel that's so important for people that we care about and for people who we want to see succeed and not have to struggle so much. I mean, we're all going to struggle, obviously,
Right.
but we just want to love on those people. So accountability is so important and learning responsibilities so you can be accountable. I love that you guys do that. David, what is your next goal as you move forward?
Definitely to finish school and graduating the program.
How long is that program?
About a year and 2 months.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and then after that, get my feet in the door, get a good job, which I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Shelley, assuming David stays on course, how will you eventually know that David is ready to graduate from the program?
It's as I said earlier, it is different for everyone. So don't hold me to this. So if you come to my office and go,
David, close
Shelley,
your
you
ears.
said, I'm going to go listen. Him finishing school is going to be so important. That's something that I think that's going to just be a good foundation for him. And then, it would be my hope that he stays for a while, even after he gets a job, just so he can just build up a nest egg. That would be my hope. That doesn't mean he has to,
right.
But that would be my hope. So he can build up a nest egg and have a good, firm foundation to move forward. Because as we've said, it is so expensive.
Yeah.
And the program looks differently throughout each phase. While he's in school, it's going to look different. Once he gets a job, it's going to look different. So it would be my hope that before he graduates, he has a good amount of money to go out there, have good transportation, and all the things.
Definitely. David, one of the goals of this podcast is to address many of the stigmas and stereotypes that exist about those experiencing homelessness. What would you like viewers to know about people like you that might surprise them?
That, I'm not afraid to ask for help. Don't ever be like in that moment to say you got it and go through the struggles rather than just, ask for help, whatever it may be you're going through, whether it's homelessness or financial help or just anything. Just don't be afraid to reach out and, ask somebody.
Right. I love that. And for somebody who says, because a lot of people say this, I don't know if you know or not, but a lot of people are like, to somebody who is homeless, they're just bums.
Right.
They made their bed. They can lay in their bed or whatnot. What do you say to those people?
I say you can't really judge a book by its cover because, you're just being too quick to judge. And who knows, you might run into them, 10, 15 years from now and have their life turned around and, so you can never.
Somebody gave them a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I feel I'm learning a lot too. And I feel like it honestly can happen to anybody at any moment.
Absolutely.
It could happen to me. It could happen to Shelley. It could happen to any of our friend circle. It can happen to our kids.
Yeah. Because
you were 18 years old and you didn't choose I'm just going to go live on the streets today. So I think it's important for people to understand that it doesn't matter how much they're making. It doesn't matter if they have a nice car in their garage, that anything could happen and it could be them one day.
Yeah.
And to give people grace and love and be more like Matthew's Hope.
Yeah.
And see them as everybody is people.
Absolutely.
And be like, what do you need? How can I help you?
Yeah.
I love that. Shelley, do you have anything else to add?
So one thing I want to point out for those who are watching us online, David always has a smile. I have made that comment so many times in our meetings. He's always smiling, and I appreciate that. He's just like a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would never guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like I already told you, you have great hair too.
He has great hair and a great smile.
Thank you.
And drive. And when you're talking about school and going to school, you just light up and it's really exciting.
Yeah, it's
really like, I want to go do something like that too. That just like really gets you excited and just passionate and motivated to go and do something. That is really good because it's going to help you. But I feel like you're going to be helping a lot of people too.
Absolutely.
I really feel like you will. And David, is there anything that you'd like to add before we close?
When I said in the beginning that, I ended up being homeless for bad decisions, some of those bad decisions were, believe it or not, I was on drugs and now I'm doing a 12-step recovery
Okay.
that I'm very grateful for. And yeah, it's been a journey so far. So I'm very grateful for that program.
And we're very proud of you because,
for sure.
you know, I feel like we all know somebody who have struggled with some type of addiction, and it's tough.
It is.
So very proud of you.
Thank you.
And David, is there anything you'd like to say to the staff, the volunteers, the donors, or maybe people who are thinking about donating to Matthew's Hope, but they really haven't done anything yet?
Yeah, I would say that just, don't be afraid to lend and help a hand because, God's going to bless you more abundantly than you'll know it. And you'll see your life change, all those donations that you help a different organization out. So, yeah, it's a blessing.
And they're going to see lives change just like yours.
Absolutely. So
that's pretty amazing. Well, thank you, David. Good luck as you move forward. Thank you to everyone who is watching and listening. This is the real faces of homelessness. Like I mentioned before, and I can't keep saying it enough, it could happen to any of us. So support people like Matthew's Hope because they're doing amazing things. They're doing so many different things. So please look more into them. They have social media, Instagram, Facebook. So please reach out to them to see how you can help them, whether it be financially, volunteer, any of those things that they may need from you. Let's help them themselves. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.